Coming up today on Man 360.
Build your foundation in Him and stay in the light. And I think a lot of that comes through accountability.
Yeah.
We're here on the streets in Budapest, and we're trying some goulash.
All that and more right here on Man 360. Welcome to Man 360. I'm your host, Brian. Today's program is packed with an amazing testimony of God's grace and mercy, a trip around the world to the country of Hungary, and then a fun and informative tips and tricks segment. To start off the program, I sat down with my friend and worship pastor, Matt Earle, at the Assemblies of God General Council. We talked about his testimony of walking through heartbreaking pain, drug and alcohol addiction, and a time of coming face to face with Jesus. Matt's story about exceptional loss and his path back to God will encourage and inspire you. Then we're off to Budapest, Hungary to show you some of the city sights and a few of the fun foods we tried on vacation. We'll close the program with the tips and tricks segment where I'll share a few simple, effective steps to help clean your car or truck. I'm glad you're here. Let's get started. Welcome to Man 360. Matt, thanks for being on Man 360. It's so great to have you on the program and just get to know you. Obviously, Danielle was one of our youth in our youth group in Wyoming.
Yeah.
So crazy. Then you guys were back in Wyoming, youth pastoring and doing all that. And It was just great to get to know you. I know she loves you, and it's just been fun to get to know you. But I wanted you to share a little bit about, where you came from. I know you're from the East Coast. Are you a Patriots fan?
Always have been, always will be.
So we can stop the interview right now. No kidding. But yeah, I just wanted you to share a little bit about where you came from and kind of that call to ministry and what did that pivot look like into the full-time ministry that you're doing now.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian, and thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. I grew up in Maine, outside of Portland, Maine, in a little town called Standish, and in a God-fearing home, Christian parents, lived the truth out before me, and as I was coming up in high school, I really gravitated towards athletics and music. And it was just a normal childhood. Three siblings, two brothers, older brother, younger brother, and then the youngest was my sister.
Okay.
And that's kind of how I came up.
Wow. So then when you felt that call to ministry, what did that look like? You had this Christian environment, obviously, that you were, it's cultivated, that God provided you that family to be in. So what was that call to go into ministry and actually go to Evangel, our alma mater?
So I sensed a call to ministry at a very young age. I don't think I knew that I was being called to ministry though.
Okay.
I felt God's presence in my life. I encountered Him in His love, and late in high school, I had a couple of really life-changing moments in the presence of God.
Yeah.
And then I moved on to Evangel, but I went to Evangel to play basketball. That was really what, more than it being a Christian university. And I went to Evangel and I pursued playing basketball, and it was there that I met Danielle at the end of our freshman year.
Okay.
And but the call to ministry, I would say it really came later on, but I think that God was starting to place that on my heart even as a young boy.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize what He was doing in me at that time.
It's very interesting. Yeah, because sometimes I've talked to people where they're like, I knew there was like this, not like the angel came down and told me, Gabriel came down and sung something to me, because you're a singer, obviously, and a musician. But so from that piece, I know when you and Danielle got married, you guys, she got pregnant, and you guys had this incredible tragedy that happened in your life, and it just precipitated all these other events in your life.
Yeah.
Just share about that, and just, again, share with the men about what happened.
Right. So, again, Danielle and I met at Evangel in Springfield, Missouri, and we graduated in 2000, and we moved back to the East Coast in Maine, and got a home, got a couple of really good jobs, and settled in. And a few years after that, like you said, she was pregnant, and we were expecting identical twin boys. So very excited about that. And things were going really well in the pregnancy until one night. She was about 8 months along. It was actually on Valentine's Day in 2005. She just began bleeding. And so we got her to the hospital, and within 15 minutes after we got there, she was in emergency surgery. And our first son, Ryan, he passed away when he was born. And then our second son, Nathan, he passed a week later. So we were just thrown into this tragedy, and it was a whirlwind, and didn't know how to really respond to all of it.
Yeah. So then from that time, what happened in the marriage and your relationship and just in your own personal life? What were some of these events and things that happened?
Yeah, I would say, as I observed Danielle and how she responded to what happened, I feel like she was very solid. She was built on the rock.
Yeah.
My relationship with God at that time was superficial. It was an understanding of who God was and some encounters in His presence, but no deep roots. And it was just a matter of time before I began to reach for other things to cope with the pain and the trauma that we had sustained. And so I began to drink, and it got worse and worse. And then I opened the door to drugs, and that got worse and worse. And it became life controlling and very destructive. And what happened from there was the Holy Spirit just had His hand upon me and upon us through all of it. And there were people who were praying for me, and God opened the door for me to go to Teen Challenge in 2007. And I walked into the doors of Teen Challenge in March of 2007. I had no idea who I was. Wow. Here I am, 28 years old. I don't know who I am. I was broken. I was desperate for God. And for the first time in my life, I cried out to Him.
Wow. I remember you shared with me too that you said you knew that you were at the bottom or towards the bottom. I think you were stealing your grandma's drugs and pills out of her. So share a little bit about that.
Yeah. So definitely.
Yeah.
The addiction to drugs had carried me to places that I had never been before.
Yeah.
I'd never been a thief. The bondage, it was really spiritual bondage.
Yeah.
And I was addicted to crack cocaine.
Yeah.
And I had addictions to opioids that were just out of control.
Wow.
And so I reached a point where I do what I had to do to get what I needed.
Yeah.
And just totally desperate.
Yeah.
Understanding that, if something doesn't change here, I'm going to end up in prison.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to end up dead. And so I would say I really was all the way to the bottom.
Yeah. But at that point, you were at the bottom.
I was at the bottom.
You shared that, and you were like, let me tell you a story. And I was like, I've never heard anything like that before in my life. I was like, just to know, and just even knowing, and now too, just the godly home that you grew up in, and just that righteous seed really that was placed in you, even through that. So, and then from that point, again, the Teen Challenge piece and the recovery.
Right.
And, it just sounds like God has just been doing some amazing things with your music. You're in Washington now, State, doing ministry there as well. You're an associate pastor there?
So I'm the worship pastor there, but when you were talking about that seed of righteousness that was planted, that's huge.
Yeah.
The word says that when you train up a child in the way that he should go, when he is older, it will not depart from him. And that seed was, he will not depart from it. But when you actually study that out, it's that word, it's that seed, it's that life that's been breathed into you. And so I now had the opportunity in Teen Challenge to build a foundation in Him.
Yeah.
And God completely changed my life. I mean, the compulsion to drink, He took from me. He delivered me from the drug addiction.
Yeah.
I mean, I was broke down, busted, and not to be trusted. Okay? and I didn't trust myself.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen overnight. I was in a place where I cried out, but here I am. I'm still a slave to sin. I began to seek the Lord, and I allowed the Holy Spirit to work in my life. And it was really through the power of God's Word, through prayer, and through that fellowship. That walking in the light as He is in the light, and having that fellowship, as it talks about in 1 John. And so, that's where it all changed.
It's so amazing too now seeing Caitlin and Emma, your daughters, and Yolanda and I were mentioning that, and just looking at, you can see the results of that righteous seed that you're placing in those girls. And obviously we're here, the Assembly of God General Council here. Both girls are in competitions to get scholarships and go to school and those things. And I know that this is I just feel like this is like a full circle time for you guys to see the full fruition of that seed that was planted.
That's right.
And I know obviously from the things that Yolanda and I went through, with my eye and just some physical stuff, it's like I could never be who I am today without going through that. I would never want to go through it again.
Right.
but I know that I couldn't know the things I know now
Yes.
without going through that.
That's it.
In that same vein, what would you say to men? That's, again, I think you just mentioned a few things there, but what's the one thing that you would tell men to encourage them in going through tragedy and those kind of things as well? What would be something you'd share with them?
Absolutely. I want to go there, but I want to brush on something you just mentioned.
Yeah,
I'm glad
please.
you did. The Lord blessed us with 2 beautiful daughters. It's just like God, isn't it? We got 2 boys waiting for us in eternity. We got 2 promised children.
Yeah.
And Caitlin's 16, Emma's 13. They're both here at Fine Arts for the Assemblies of God General Council, serving and using their gifts for Him.
Yeah.
But what I would say, I would go back to that, that verse. I believe it's 1 John 1:7. If we walk in the light as He is in the light, we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of His Son Jesus purifies us from all sin. I would say, to other men, to anyone who would hear this time, this testimony today, build your foundation in Him and stay in the light. And I think a lot of that comes through accountability.
Yeah.
When Jesus sent out His disciples, He sent them out 2 by 2.
Yeah.
And these were mighty men of God doing miraculous signs and wonders in His name.
Yeah.
But He knew, we need one another and we need Him. Stay in the light.
Yeah.
Continue to allow the Holy Spirit to work on you, because we're not there and we never will be.
Right.
It's like,
That's right.
I have not
To
arrived.
this side of heaven.
That's it.
Yeah, and I do think too, it's like even that forgiveness that we walk in with ourselves is what we can release to others as well. I know that again, just things that as a guy, that there's things that as we deal with as men that we want to make sure that we're also sharing those burdens with one another. And I know it's funny because like you and I don't talk as frequently as we probably could, but it's like anytime we ever connect or text or whatever, it's like time's never passed, right?
Exactly.
It's like, and I know that those kind of relationships are what men need.
Yes.
And also not just to go goof around and go do something, like hiking or outdoors or play basketball or those kind of things, but really to allow the relationships, I think too, are important. I think that's what you're saying too, is allow that relationship with God and allow that relationship and that accountability with other men. I think is super important.
Yep.
And it's evident. We're just proud of you and Danielle and the things you guys have done, the girls.
Yeah.
Your boys that are in heaven. We just really believe that God's going to continue to do great things.
Yeah. And can I say something
Please.
else?
Yeah.
So another thing just got me thinking when you're talking about forgiveness.
Yeah.
Another area that I really had to walk through was that spirit of condemnation.
Yes.
And I think that's a lot of men deal with that.
Yeah.
You feel like you're the sum of your mistakes and your past, and it couldn't be further from the truth. The Lord is merciful, and He is just, and He will cleanse us from all unrighteousness.
Yeah.
We'll just come to Him, and we just move forward.
Yeah.
And we're going to bump our heads along the way.
Yeah.
But we are not condemned.
Yeah.
And someone needs to hear that today.
It's true. And we were joking about Bugs Bunny cartoons, if anybody watched Bugs Bunny cartoons. And I remember the one with Bugs Bunny and Yosemite Sam, they're at the bar, and he's going to do 10 paces, and Bugs Bunny's walking with Yosemite Sam, and he turns around, he kisses him on the nose, and Yosemite Sam gets so mad and walks back. And it's almost like as we walk, we think we're walking away from God, He's still right there.
Yeah, that's good.
And all it is turning around, and He's right there to kiss us on the nose and have this interaction with, with each other. And I don't know, God is so great that way.
Good.
It's just awesome to hear, again, what God's continued to do in you, Matt. So thanks for being on Man 360.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having me.
you.
Seriously.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's so great. Thank you.
So here is our flower creation, the one that went all with sorbets. So we have the lemon, the dragon fruit, and the watermelon. So we're gonna try it. We are at a little bistro here on the streets in Budapest, and we're trying some goulash. and we were going to try to get something else, but they had the breakfast that has the sausages, the eggs, some of this, I guess it's just a tomato sauce, and then some of the bread. So, and also all the bread we've had, actually the whole trip has really been amazing. So we're going to dig in and see what this tastes like. So I just bought a traditional Hungary chimney cake, and Ilana and I decided to use white chocolate, and I thought to make it feel more healthy, you should probably just throw some strawberries in there. Does this look healthy? So good. So we're going to try this real quick. But I'm just thinking, I don't know how to eat this. I'm trying to look around to see who's out of it. So it kind of tastes like a churro, a little bit. That's what I feel. Like a churro consistency, and then your strawberries again make you feel like you're eating healthy. We just got the white chocolate, it's not right.
Hey, Adonis Lindsay here. You remember that moment in kindergarten, that special time that was called quiet time? I do. That was my favorite time in kindergarten. It was that moment where you came back in from recess and the teacher would turn the lights off and you would grab your mat. Oh, I can still remember that mat. That mat was something. It was like red and blue. It was like an accordion style. I'd unfold it, I'd grab my blanket and lay down, and she turned those lights off. It was just, man, that was my favorite time. And you didn't have to go to sleep, but you had to be quiet. And I noticed after kindergarten, quiet time went away. I went on to first grade, there was no quiet time. Second grade, third grade, just all the way up through high school, there was no quiet time. And I was thinking about today's generation, and one of the things I began to put in practice was I've got to structure and show my kids what quiet time looks like. And in today's culture, they just don't know because, man, they're always here in this phone scrolling, and so much is bombarding their minds, and they're flipping through all these little videos, and it's like, how do we get them back into that kindergarten moment of quiet time? And so it's not going to happen by osmosis. It's just not going to happen. We've got to be intentional, and we have to introduce or reintroduce as parents quiet time to our children. So what is quiet time? Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because what I've begun to do, and God has really put this on me as a parent, as a father, as adults, we get so busy, and we've got, we can have this thing in our hands all day long too, and we've got to put it down. So it starts with us first, and so I begin to put this down and just have some moments throughout the day where it's quiet, not just focus time, but quiet time where I can really just let my mind de-stress and be at peace and be at ease. And so one of the things we do, and I'll share this with you, so maybe you can apply this to your kids as well. So there's several nights at the end of our devotions that we do devotions every night, but we practice quiet time maybe 3 times a week. I'm just trying to get them into the habit. So I set them down and say, kids, we're gonna do some quiet time. And they said, what is that? I said, we're gonna put the phones down, we're gonna turn off all the distractions, and we're just gonna sit in this living room, in this space. We're gonna put some worship music on, we're gonna lower the lights, and we're just gonna reflect on the goodness of God, and maybe reflect on our day. And I remember my son was like, Dad, that's gonna be awkward. I'm not gonna know what to do. I said, this is why we're practicing quiet time. So what you can do if you're a parent and you're like, you know what, Adonis, that sounds like a really good idea. And so here's some practical things you can put in place. Find those moments that you schedule throughout the week. Doesn't have to be every day, but maybe at least 3 times a week where they know we're gonna have some quiet time. Find a space in your home or outside. Like I found this amazing space and it's quiet time. So find a space that you can just sit with your kids. Set a timer if you have to on your phone for 5 minutes, because you don't want to cheat on this. You want to get them in the habit of just being still and being quiet, maybe listening to their thoughts, maybe give them something to focus on. One of the things I tell my kids during quiet time, here are some things that we're praying about, and these are things you can be meditating and praying about as well. So you set that time, and you don't have to talk during that time, but it's just practicing that quiet time. Let's get back to that and shut out the distractions, shut down the technology, and give that space for God to speak to you and to your kids. I believe God is always speaking, and I believe we're just in such a noisy world that even as adults, we've got to retrain our brains how to hit those moments of quiet time. So if it's good for us, it's got to be good for our children. Let's practice quiet time.
Today we're here at the car wash. We have our trusty Christian Television Network CRV, and I want to give you some tips and tricks about how to clean the outside of your vehicle. So I had a friend come up to me and say, "Hey Brian, could you help me spray off my truck?" And I was like, my dad showed me that when I was just a kid about what you need to do to clean your vehicle and, make it look nice. And so I thought about that, and he said, my dad never showed me how to do that. And I thought, that's so crazy. So I thought it'd be great to be able to share that with you today and just talk about a few things about how to clean your car. So when you're cleaning your vehicle, there's a few things you need to remember. You always want to work from top to bottom. So you work from the roof basically down to the tires. And you want to basically start from either the front to back. You can start in the middle, but it's always good to start on one area or the other. So if you look at the CRV and the side of it, you can see that there's kind of 4 different areas. There's the very back, from the back door to the tail of the car. There's each of the individual doors. So there's the back door and then the front door, and then also from the front quarter panel to the front of the car. So each of these are 4 areas that you want to basically wash when you're washing the car. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of the pre-wash on the car. So people think, why would I put pre-wash on the car? It's like this barely squirting out of there. Doesn't seem like there's any high pressure or anything. But if you spray it on the car, there's a very good level of degreasing and debugging. So if you go on a long trip, you want to spray some of that on there. And then maybe sometimes people are like, well, I'm going to spray that right off. But don't do that right away. You want to let it sit on the car for maybe, 30 seconds, 45 seconds. I know that's more time. Once you put all your coins in, you don't want to waste your money. But actually it's breaking up those bugs that are on the car. So you spray it, do all the pre-wash. Then you can take the soap, just do the high pressure soap, spray all the car down, make sure you get working top to bottom. So you want to do the top of the car first. Then you're going to do the windows. You just start on the left or right side of the car. It doesn't really matter. And then what I do is I start with the hood, the front of the car. You can do the front quarter panel. Now, one thing to remember when you're using the soap, if you're going to use the brush, the foam brush, also on the car, you don't have to spend a lot of time on the soapy, on squirting the soap on the car, because you're going to put soap on it again when you use the brush. So now as I go to get the brush, I will spray that off. And what I do is I spray the gun into the brush where the brush is holding, because a lot of times too, what people do, they don't always realize, or maybe there's little rocks that get caught in the brush. So you don't want to use the brush on your car and have those rocks hitting and scratching your car up. So you want to spray the end of the brush off and get all the rocks and everything and all the debris out of the end of the bristles. Then you take the brush, and now you just, work top to bottom. So you work from the top windows, you work down the side. I do long strokes, so I make kind of like S curves all the way down the side of the car. You can also go from the front to the back of the car, all the way down the car. And this isn't really scrubbing any of the dirt off of the car. All this is doing is putting a good suds and putting some good soap all over the car. The other thing too you want to remember is if you're at the license plate, there's normally an area from the bottom of the bumper down to the air dam on the bottom of the ground that a lot of times will stay dirty. You want to get that brush in there, and as well get some brush and clean that up as well. So then once you have the soap foam on there, then I take the water, spray it all off. We get all the soap all off of there. Again, as you're working top to bottom, the good thing to remember is this as well. When you're working top to bottom and you're spraying the soap off, obviously you're letting gravity work for you. So you're spraying the soap. And then what I'm doing is I'm watching to make sure that all the bubbles and all the soap are going away as I'm spraying the clear water back on the car. So now we sprayed the car off. We sprayed all the soap and all those things off there. Then you can also use a wax. If they have a hot wax, you can use that. Sometimes what I do too is I wait and I hold the gun on the ground and make sure you get all the soap out of and all the water. make sure it goes through that cycle, and then you put wax into the water. So I'm shooting this on the ground. Then I just do, again, same thing, top to bottom, front to back, or back to front. We spray all the car down, and then you can let that sit for a little bit. And then also, sometimes what they do is they have a like a spot-free rinse, essentially. So basically that is like a more pure water. And so sometimes if you don't use this and you only use the wax, and then you go drive the car without drying it off, and we're not really going to talk about drying it off. My dad said the best drying off is you just take it on the highway and bring it up to speed and just drive and let the wind blow all the water off of it, which is actually a pretty smart idea. I mean, I was always the one that was trying to scrub all the water and stuff off of it with a drying towel, but then you just go back with a drying towel later. So we won't do that piece of it today. So if you're drying the car off, one thing that you do is you work from top to bottom. You don't want to dry the tires off first. I know my dad always told me, you want to have beautiful rims. The inside Morris joke was you dry the rims off first. You don't want to do that because you can get dirt or any of those particles in the rag, and then it would scratch the car up, which you don't want to do that. So you dry all the windows off first, then all the painted surfaces as well. And also it's important too to remember to maybe get a microfiber towel or something that's specifically for drying a car off. If you use a beach towel or a bath towel, sometimes those fibers are a little too hard, and you can actually scratch your car. And again, depending on the color of your vehicle, depending if it's obviously with the CRV here, it's about every color in the book with between blue to yellow. We've got some black. We got some other colors on here. So you're not really going to see that. But if you have a darker color car, like a red, a dark blue, or a black, if you do have anything on your rag and you're trying to dry the car off, you're going to scratch it up pretty bad. So I hope today gave you just a few tips and tricks about cleaning the outside of your car. It doesn't take a lot of work. I know that sometimes there are a lot of manual car washes in town, but now a lot of people are going to automatic car washes. The one thing to be careful about automatic car washes is that those brushes, especially if you don't do the touchless car washes and they have the brushes, then they can also scratch your car because you don't know what type of dirt or kind of dirty level of dirty cars that have gone through there before you. So there is a potential of scratching it, but with this system that I just showed you today, you can make sure and keep your car beautiful, not scratched, and looking really good.
Let's do our 360-degree review of today's program. My friend Matt Earle and his wife Danielle walked through pain most of us can't imagine with the loss of their twin boys, causing Matt to spiral. But God brought redemption and hope, and it's inspiring. I want to underline what Matt said about condemnation that can be a heavy anchor keeping us from God and His love. Don't let the devil tell you that you're only the sum of your mistakes. You can start right now and turn to Christ. He's only one step away. Thank you, Matt, for your time and sharing your powerful testimony. Budapest, Hungary is full of great people, beautiful views, and amazing food. If you're ever in that part of the world, take a couple of days and explore it. It's worth it. Thanks to Adonis Lindsay for Dad Moments this week. I encourage you to use the principles he shared on helping your kids quiet their minds. With all the noise today, his advice can help kids be intentional, be quiet, and learn to listen to God. From our tips and tricks segment, I hope you saw that cleaning the outside of your car isn't hard if you use the steps I showed you today. And a simple system can also save you money at the car wash. For links to Matt's music and fun things to do in Budapest, go to man360.tv/additional content. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule to be with us today. Man 360 exists for men to be complete in every way through Christ, mentally, physically, and spiritually. You can always connect with us on our website, Facebook, or Instagram, and we'll see you next week, right here on Man 360. My wife's checking me out. She's checking me out. Let's. Why are you doing that?